Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. Ron, Horsrulu, and Jason. I see you guys again. Um, so last week, of course, we would have worked on bad apples, and that's what we do every other week is work on this project, and then we have our feedback week every other week. So I haven't worked on bad apples in a while. So last week, since I hadn't worked on it, I'm like, I should probably do something. At least get something out of the way. And I decided to try and learn how to use Moho 12 and import. Where is it here? So we've been working on all of these Photoshop documents. And what these are layers. So if you guys have been here before, hey, Whiskey, what's going on? So we have like the apples. We have a ball, castle, grumble, kid 2, king, mother 1, and the top. So it's taken us a long time to get all these done, and so I tried to import them into Moho, and it won't let me. So I don't understand why. I followed like a tutorial on how to import uh, Photoshop files into Moho. Followed it to the T, right? And it's really simple. It's actually not hard to do. Tried to import it, and it doesn't recognize the files. So, um, so let's see here. Anyways, so I figured, well, maybe there's like a reason why. So it's definitely a .psd file, right? So I figured maybe there's a reason why. Maybe it's because my Photoshop version is really old. It's probably like, I don't know, 8 years old or something like that. Photoshop CS2 might even be older. It's ancient. So I figured, all right. So I opened up Krita and I opened the file in there. It recognized it, and I resaved it as a Photoshop document with all the layers, thinking that, well, Krita will just encode it exactly the way Photoshop encodes it in in the up-to-date sort of way. And tried to import that file. That didn't work. I tried to resave the documents in Photoshop CS2 without the maximum compatibility turned on, thinking, well, maybe the compatibility was the problem. That didn't work. So after all this work, I'm hoping that there's some way I can import the files, because if I can't, it means all this work is down the tubes. How many weeks of work? So it's a bit frustrating. I'm gonna see, look around, see if I can figure it out. But next week we may not do bad apples. I'm gonna try to solve that before next week, and uh, I don't think that's it. They are definitely .psd files. No, it's a kid2. It actually it does have PSD after it. Yeah, it does. Um, It's not like top .psd. I can try it, but technically that would be a top .psd.psd. So I don't know if that's gonna work, but like I said, I could try. But man, it's frustrating because I don't want to, have done all this for nothing. So anyway, that's one of the stumbling blocks that I had to kind of overcome, and try and solve before we can do another episode of either animating or whatever. Come on, Firefox. I don't really like Windows 10, even though I don't have a choice because it automatically installed. But anyways, all right, let's move on. That was my rant for the day. But anyways, the site has had a lot of activity on it lately. A lot of people posting, a lot of new members, and just some really good stuff. And Randy posted this video here, which is really cool. It's called Buttered Side Down. Check that out. If you guys haven't watched it, scroll down on the page of it and look at what people are posting in here. There's some stuff in the forums that were posted. In fact, let me see if I can quickly find it. Well, it's probably a not safe for work thing, but somebody animated like this Frankenstein animation, and all right. Well, I can at least bring it up anyway. From I don't know how do you say his name. Esplugues? Esplugues? Esplujes? Like, is it Spanish? Not quite sure. But he posted a Frankenstein video, which is interesting. I'm not really sure what this Frankenstein model is. Some sort of like a maybe like an animatable toy, perhaps, or a kit, a model kit. But it looks pretty cool, and I think this is like one of those rubber love dolls, and it can be animated. So he tried to do that, which is first time I've ever seen that before, and of course a lot of people posting things on here. So this is one of the more funny things that I saw, and I kind of joked like, which one of our members is this who made this clay puppet here. Because he put the firework in it and he lights it in the crowd. And here's the result. Oops. Right into some random kid. But so there's some some funny things we found, and these are pictures we're gonna look at today for Feedback Week. So anyways, yeah. So what else can I say? So we've also got. Now, I don't remember if I've shown this or not, but Missing Link does have a new trailer out. And why don't we watch this? I don't really care if YouTube gives me my copyright notice, because I don't monetize my videos anyway. So let's watch this and check out the new Missing Link trailer, which will be out soon, or the film will be. Let's check it out.
I offer you a glimpse of a legendary creature, lost in time. Neither ape nor man, but a giant. He's had many names.
Actually, I go by Susan.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan.
That is a girl's name.
Yes, that's correct.
It suits you.
I need someone who knows the wild places of the world. And you're the world's greatest adventurer.
What exactly do you ask of me?
I'm lonely. I'm the last of my kind. But on the other side of the world, they talk of this creature.
The Yeti.
I think these Yetis are my cousins. Can you take me there?
I give you my word.
Okay, what is it?
What?
Your word.
No, it's a figure of speech.
Sounds good. What is it?
Well, I'm on my way.
We have a long way to go.
You'll need a map. We're not gonna break in, are we?
Climb the wall and pull me up.
I'm taking my time, but I don't know where.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Now, to find the place you belong, you'll need to keep a low profile.
A
Me
monster!
and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Oh boy, that is gonna let in an awful draft.
So let me see if I understand. You plan to travel around the world to the home of the Yeti. I know the secret ways through the mountains.
You see, Gamu, whatever you do not mention the chicken.
No chicken, got it. Zip.
Greetings, Venerable Gamu.
It is an honor.
What's with the chicken?
It will not be easy, but we will find your place.
Throw the knife, Bowie!
I gotcha!
Shangri-La?
We call it.
What does it mean?
Keep out, we hate you.
Throw me out of the pit.
I think it might be a little too heavy.
Nonsense. Now, give it all you've got.
Oh, it's hard to know whose fault that was. Let's do it again.
All right, so that's the trailer, and so I don't know. I mean, if you guys are excited about it or not, but it seems like they really polished this one, to perfection. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like my first impression is the story seems funny and the characters seem to have a lot of character. Can't say I'm super excited about it though. I think it just looks so much like CG. The tactile aspect of it is. I kind of miss that. I kind of like a little bit more of a rough looking puppets and things like that. But it does look pretty interesting. So Rennie says that looks beautiful and hilarious, but when stop motion is designed and printed out using computers, it looks so perfect. It's like computer animation. So what's the point? Yeah, that's my impression as well. it looks good, but yeah, if it mimics computers, it's kind of defeating the purpose, right? Or it's lacking that handmade quality that is so which we've grown up with, and maybe we're just accustomed to it. So I mean, I could be biased in that regard, but so Ron says, yeah, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, see, I think our generation, we kind of, we really appreciate that more than most people. I think if you were to ask the current generation, would you rather have it nice and polished or, a little bit more rough? They'd probably say they don't care. So Jason says it looks completely CGI. Yeah. So even Jason agrees to that. I mean, I wonder if there is a cutoff though. Like, do you think that the audience, if they care, does it matter to them? I mean, I think if they didn't know, if we weren't talking about it here on this show, which is about stop motion, could they actually tell if it's stop motion? I don't know, but I think the story is really, of course, that's going to be what carries it. Of course, we're talking about the technical aspects, and that's kind of what we're into and what we appreciate. But if the story is good, maybe that's okay. So Jason says it doesn't even take advantage of the great lighting that stop motion can produce.
It did.
You don't like the lighting? It appears to me that it's just very heavily composited. It seems to have a kind of, like this, for example, here they've got the glow around the windows, the color of everything. Was it color corrected that way, do you think, or was it lighting? I don't really know what it is about it. It just, I think it might be the fact that the faces, which are the main focal point, those are all 3D printed, and they have that sort of perfect, I don't know, even the translucency of the face, the way the light reflects off of it, it doesn't really reflect light the way that real objects do. And I think the reason why is because the faces are made from a powdered nylon, which absorbs the light a certain way. So it has a kind of unnatural quality to it. So when you have like a clay puppet or something, yeah, it's definitely that powdered material that they used. I think they used the same powder on Kubo as well. Yeah, it just you can't really tell what it is. So the charm of stop motion is definitely lost. Maybe we've just advanced too much, and somehow, I don't know. I don't really want to get too negative about it, because the story itself might be really good, and I don't want to be a doubter. But I think we all kind of feel the same. So anyways, I do want to thank Hoserlu for posting that. And so the article says, Missing Link follows a monster investigator named Sir Lionel Frost, who's voiced by Hugh Jackman, who discovers a legendary creature while adventuring in the Pacific Northwest. The Bigfoot-esque monster, who goes not only by Mr. Link, by Zach Galifianakis, but also by Susan, is quite lonely and wishes to find his long-lost relatives. I mean, it is kind of funny that he goes by Susan as well. I mean, it's a funny joke, but along with free-spirited adventurer Adelina Fortnite, who is played by Zoe Saldana, the trio sets off across the world. Also joining the cast are Emma Thompson, Timothy Oliphant, and Stephen Fry in unspecified roles. Leica is the animation studio behind Coraline, Paranorman, and Kubo and the Two Strings. Missing Link will be the studio's 5th feature film And with 110 sets and 65 unique locations, it will be the biggest, his biggest film yet. You know what? I think I understand why the faces have that unnatural look. I'm pretty sure they're doing long exposures. And if you have something that has a certain translucency, like, you know, when you go into a place that has, for example, fluorescent lights, and you look at your hands, you can sort of see the veins in them. But if there's incandescent, you can't. So the way that the light penetrates things can make it look different. I don't know. So Hoserlu says the audience mostly prefers CGI, sadly. And Janet says, I don't feel hyped for this movie. Story feels cliche. Wow, okay, so I guess we all really feel the same, don't we? I mean, it's kind of unusual that nobody's like sticking up for it. I feel bad to be a downer, you know. It is how I feel. Saran says that list left out Box Trolls, which was one of their best. I did like Box Trolls. That was really good. That was a good film. And I did like Paranorman. I think Paranorman was pretty good as well. Alright, so anyways, I do want to give a shout out to Dan Metal Mad Cat, who has been doing some stuff for our website. He's written a new article, and he also made a tutorial, which we're going to watch. So Randy says, and Box Trolls is the one I wanted to see most and haven't managed to see it. Oh. You know, I went to, if you go to, like, I'm sure you have a Walmart near you. They have a DVD that has, like, Paranorman and Box Trolls, and I think Coraline is on there. They have, like, a one DVD set with all their films on it. So, you know, that might be a way to, you know, cheap way to go to see all their stuff. Yeah, I gotta admit though, I do miss the old Vinton days. I do miss Clay. That's one thing I miss. All right. Anyways, guys, so back to Dan Metal Mad Cat, who has been hard at work. He wrote up this article and he revised it as well. It's a bit lengthy. Now, if you want to see this, we have a section in our tutorial and articles section. So we've got this section called Thoughts and Reflections. And so I don't know if really this is an appropriate spot for it, because this is really more like a blog that like a blog post in a sense that Dan wrote about, and it kind of goes into you know, the trials and tribulations of trying to find supplies in Latin America, because of course, and we've mentioned this in the past, and also when Dan was on our live show, you know, one of the things that we brought up was, you know, how do you find supplies, because you can't just go to a Hobby Lobby or Michael's Craft Store or Pearl Paints if you're on the East Coast or something. Where we live in America, we're completely spoiled, and even finding things such as clay, it's pretty tough to find in Latin America. Like Van Eyck and clay is not sold there. And trying to order online is sometimes difficult because some places won't ship out there. So I know Dan and I had to work it out, but I may end up like helping to ship some clay out to him if he asks me, because I don't think he replied to my last post. But anyway, we can get into that in another time. But he wrote a pretty lengthy article about what it's like, and you know, just from that viewpoint of trying to be even creative is more difficult. You know, you had to be more creative to kind of get around the limitations in a way, which is something that is, you know, a stop motion animator. That's kind of almost like, you know, that's their calling in a way, is to get around problems and solve them and try to create things where maybe, you know, using methods that other people have not used before because of the local materials and supplies, and like, you know, wire and wood and different kinds of wood they might have there, which, you know, maybe they don't have plywood there. So making a set floor would have to be made from something else. And where do you find that? Maybe like it could be, siding from a house or something, or flooring. You just never know. I'm sure they do have plywood, by the way, but I'm just, as a point. So check it out. If you guys want, I could actually post this. I'm going to post this article on our network page. I'm going to post a link here. Finding flies in Latin. So I'm just going to post this up here. That's a very brief explanation. But that way you guys can find it more easily if you're watching this. You'll find it on our front page tonight. All right. So thank you, Dan, for writing that. And he also posted in Feedback Week, and he's the first person to post. So we're going to actually watch his tutorial first. I'm going to also refresh the page to make sure that if anybody posted last moment, we don't miss anything. Ron is like, Randy, see it now. You gotta see it. Oh, really? You're just there? Yeah, go. I mean, if it's a big enough Walmart, if they have like a video section, ours does. Like certain Walmarts, there's like the small ones, and you can do your grocery shopping. Then there's the big ones where they have, like big screen TVs and all. It's in the big screen TV section, in case you're wondering. And Janet's saying, I hate that the last big stop motion studios produced okay movies. Nothing amazing, but okay. The same with Early Man from Aardman. And one thing, Janet, is as we get older, we get more mature, and a lot of stuff is designed for kids. And in that respect, as you get older, we probably won't really care as much for this kind of stuff. Not stop motion, but the stories and stuff, which are somewhat repetitive. But okay, so we're gonna watch this now. Dan Metal Mad Cat. Before I actually play it, he wanted to make sure to let everybody know that. So he says the video is a combination of Mark Spess's and Nick Hillegas's tutorials. He basically combined them. He said, at first I wanted to explain both ways of making all-in-one video. So what he's doing here, it's an armature tutorial. Say that fast. And so he combined our different methods. And so he said, I decided to break it down one way of making things simple and one way of going a bit further. However, using steel feet was nothing I have available, so I used Mark Spess's way of doing feet, but assembled as if on steel. And this thing about dynamic versus simplified was nothing I ever heard of, but an idea that I improvised on making. So again, this is kind of where I'm talking about, because the supplies where he is, are limited, so he's definitely having to be more creative than, most of us who would just go to a store and pick up supplies, and, you gotta think outside the box. He says, I was trying to drive my viewers' attention, and I wasn't sure how. I'm not a great comedian. Also, I don't usually smile a lot. And I developed this idea of adding 2D animation sequences, which more or less looks like a retro video game menu. Okay, so yeah, so let's check it out. And again, this took him a long time to do, and he's very Dan is a little apprehensive about releasing his work because he's very thorough, and he likes to revise things a lot. So and I try to tell him, maybe I'll just tell him here that his work is really good, so you don't have to really worry so much about that. But I'm going to make this big, and let's watch it. This runs 10.5 minutes, but he granted permission to show it, so let's check it out.
So you want to learn about stop motion animation, but let me guess, you don't know exactly where to begin. I'm gonna help you take away all your fears. In this video, we'll explore the basics on how to build your own armature wire puppet. There is a lot to cover, so prepare yourself and let the magic begin. Welcome everyone, Metal Madcat speaking, aka Dan Gorosito. If this is your first time in my channel, I enjoy making animations, comics, and tutorials every now and then for the sake of a learning experience. Now, quick reminder before we proceed with our tutorial today. I would like to mention the stopmotionmagic.com, from which community I'm very glad to be part of. There you will find lots of articles and tutorials, and there is even a shop where you can find all your supplies for your own projects. So sign up for free, it's a very cool place to be around. Now moving on, we will go over every single tool and materials that you may need to learn how to build your own armature wire puppet. You will need Step 1. When it comes to make an armature wire, there are two paths that you can take. You can choose the simplified way, which is broken down into 4 sections. Section 1, the head and the neck section. Section 2, the arm and shoulder section. Section 3, the spine section. Section 4, the waist and legs section. And then there is a dynamic way of doing it, which allows us to have replaceable heads, for example, or to have more expressive hands for your film. In this video, we will focus on the dynamic way. So first thing you want to do is to start drawing on a sheet of paper the actual size of your character. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, just a sketch will be enough. If you want to be more accurate, you can map the wire inside on your sketch with a different color pencil. Keep in mind, this will help you as a guide as you make the skeleton. As you go along, you will transfer the same measurements on your wire. Next, you want to start your skeleton with 2 strands of wire, 1 strand for each leg. The hip will be covered with epoxy putty. Add thinner wire around your hip to make the shape, then cover it with epoxy. Cut the spine wire to glue into the side holes on your wooden chest block. Epoxy is a compound chemical that acts very fast, so you must act fast as well while adding it. Be careful. Step 2. Chest and feet will be both made out of wood. This is why they are in the same step. Use your small handsaw to cut 3 blocks. 1 block will be for the chest and 2 identical blocks for feet. In the chest block, drill 2 holes on the bottom area to attach wires. On top of the chest, drill 3 holes, 2 for shoulder and 1 for the addition of your neck. As for feet, drill 2 holes on the heel area. This is where you will connect your wire legs. Drill 1 more hole, but this time go all the way down to it. Step 3. In order for your character to stay in place, you need tie downs. The purpose of tie downs is to hold your puppet foot to the set floor. This way it will not fall over. First thing you want to do is to place your rod into the center hole of your feet. Then, on one side of your rod, you will add your wing nut. On the other end, screw your bolt all the way down until it gets really tight to the wood. Now glue all around your bolt until it looks something like this. Just make sure you don't touch the rod. You want your rods to be clean. Wait until it dries and then your tie downs will be set. Step 4. For arms, we will use not 2 but 4 strands of wire. The gauge should be thinner than your legs. Glue the wires into the holes that were previously drilled on your chest block, the shoulder area. Remember to use annealed wire at all times. Time to make your hands. There are 2 ways to make them. In this case, we will make them separate hands. Another choice is making them out of the wire of your arms. Use a thinner gauge wire in contrast to your legs. Step 5. You leave some gap between the hip and the beginning of your legs. This will allow joints to bend properly. Some animators prefer to leave more wire than epoxy putty. It will be up to you how much you want to leave. Just make sure you mark each joint, allowing your character to have enough flexibility. Foam. Foam will work to create the texture on your character. Imagine your foam as the muscles of your character. Start adding layers, dipping both wire and foam with your glue. First layers will look too blocky. Don't worry about that. Next, you will be able to customize the shape by trimming with scissors. If you are still not satisfied, you can always add extra layers. 3mm foam is the one I recommend. Keep trimming back and forth until you find the results you want. In order to keep your muscles in place, you can compress them with your underwraps and will keep them tight. Head. Last but not least, the head can be replaceable head, or it could just be one single head with replaceable mouth or eyes. Regardless of your choice, you want your head to be light, therefore we will make it out of aluminum foil or anything similar. Then you can build up over with clay. Now just add some costume and your puppet will be ready to go. Yay! So, that was all regarding our tutorial for today. I hope you either learned something new or it just inspired you in any way. On our next video we will go over head construction, which we didn't really talk too much about. Also skin texture for your characters, different materials that you can use, and much more. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe. You can also follow me on social media. All links posted below. This was Metal Market. See you next time.
All right, so there you have it. That's what Dan Middle Mad Cat created. It's sort of like this hybridization of an armature, which I think would work really well, actually. Hey, Spastix Pug. So Spastix says, hello, I've only recently been dropping into streams, but love the work. I mostly do 2D, but I hope to work with stop motion more as I get a better setup. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's some free software out there if you're interested. Heron Animation is a free program you can use with a web camera. So if you want to just kind of like jump in and experiment with maybe toys or simple wire armatures or something, definitely check it out. Jason says, I love this guy. And Randy says, yeah, he's great. I watched this a couple of days ago. And Jason says, I want to buy him a better saw. Well, the music I get, let me see here. So, where did he get his? I didn't read that part. He probably posted it here in the credits. Okay. So, yeah, no, this is actually, I remember he wrote me something about this. I think he got like a copyright notice from YouTube because, you know, all these people that made that music want to post ads on his video. So I think he's gonna get some ads from these people, and he still has a lot to learn. So he hasn't really made a lot of YouTube videos, but yeah. So if you want to not have that problem, what is that place called? Incomtech. Let me see. Let me actually bring it up real quick. 1 second, guys. Incomtech music. From Kevin McLeod. Okay. So if you go to INCOMPETECH.com, this is where you can get, you know, music to use for free. All you gotta do, I believe, for example, for like Dan, if he's not making money off of his video, is just to post a credit to it. So yeah, there's tons and tons of free music on here. If it'll load. New beta website. So let me click this. Maybe this is like a different thing they're doing. Yeah, so it's really the same web page, but they have a new section of the web page. I'll play this. I hope this doesn't blast everybody. And it's not loading. Well, anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But yeah, usually you can preview the songs the last time I came on here, which is nice. But my computer might be loading it slow, or their site might be kind of overrun by people trying to download things. But it's at INCOMPETH.com. Definitely check that out. Alright, so let me refresh this one more time, make sure we don't miss anybody. And so we got Dance, and then the next one is from Selmer Castalge. I'm never gonna say that right, I know, but he posted this and he showed some in progress clothes making, which looks like he has a. Let's read what he says. Made some tights and shorts. Think they came out great. Which they do look really good. So we've got some under wraps here. And then we have, so we got two colors, white and then green. And then what appears to be, well, first off, the armature looks really good. I don't know which, oh, it's a, is that a Pro Plus? I can see the packaging from the Animation Supplies armature in the back. That might be a professional armature kit. From Animation Supplies, which we sell. So we've got, I think this is something that you would buy, like, for example, if you go to the grocery store and you find avocados or like apples and stuff, sometimes they'll put them in this kind of a wrap here like this. So I think that's what he used. I'm not really sure how he cut it and attach it in the back. But you can see we got some fabric, some string, and a pin, as well as some like lace and scissors. And this is the shorts are being made here, which I really need to learn how to sew. That's one thing that I've never learned. And my solution is always to use hot glue. Which always, it's the worst thing you can do, right? It's like it gets all chunky in certain areas because the glue is kind of thick. So Randy says, now I mostly write my own music for my films, but in the past I used to buy stuff from audiomicro.com, and recently I got a copyright hit from YouTube for music that I paid for. So annoying. Yeah, it's, they pretty much copyright you on everything. It's almost impossible to get around it. That's why I don't monetize my stuff. So Jason says, my mistake, it sounds familiar. I used copyright music on a vid that got ads put on it until they realized I had zero traffic and took them off. That's funny. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess if the more, I think they're probably happy if people use their music, right? Because, I mean, if you make a song and 1,000 people steal it, if you want to, or borrow it, I don't know what word you want to call it, but they're going to get a lot of money, technically speaking, from a broader audience of pirates. So I don't know. But this looks really good. The belt looks to be some sort of a leather strap. And he's got like a little buckle here, which looks like a piece of wire. And by the way, I noticed in the background, you can see that he's also made this guy here, which looks like he has a turtleneck. And he looks like a Russian sailor or something. He's got the stripes, the pants, and he's got some clay hands. So this is really cool. Whatever this project is going to be fun. So that's really, really great. I mean, I can't really comment on it because I can't sew and I don't really have any tips. In fact, I would be the one to be asking the questions, like, how do you do that? How did you make that strap? It's going to be cool animated too. And in fact, these armatures are really good. So, I mean, the motion should be really nice. And also there's like this other material. It's like almost like a felt on the arms. Let me see if there's. So the upper body was added at the end, and you can see how that looks. But that's probably a good material. It seems to be adhering at least really well. All right, was there anybody else? And one more refresh. And okay, so there's nobody else. But that's okay. That was fun to look at. So maybe I could kind of go into some stuff I'm learning and experimenting with, because I am learning how to punch hair into stuff, like silicone, like for puppets, or full-size heads like this. Trying to also learn how to like paint silicone, that sort of thing. I've stumbled upon different materials. I've discovered that you can take, here's a trick that I learned. You can take a set of pastels, which is like a chalky substance, right, which you can draw with, and you can crush it up into a powder and mix it into silicone to pigment it. Or you can go to a site like this, and I believe this is how certain people are pigmenting some of their silicones. This kind of pigment is also used in clay as well. I don't know if Don Carlson, when he makes his puppet putty, if he's using these pigments. But I've seen a lot of pigments on Amazon.com, which are somewhat expensive, actually. So for 10 grams of this azurite color, it's $28. So 1 gram is about the weight of a dollar bill, US dollar bill. So you figure you take like $28 and, but the thing is that this stuff usually goes a long way. It doesn't take a lot to pigment stuff with. So I know a lot of people pigment silicone with, is it Silk Pig, I think it's called. So So I have not tried to pigment silicone before. I've only used acrylic paints once as an experiment, which actually did work. But I don't know if that messes with the durability of silicone. So if you're making a stop motion puppet that bends at the elbows and the knees and sort of that sort of thing, I don't know how it holds up. But this stuff is kind of interesting because it becomes it's sort of a one size fits all pigment powder, which you can mix into anything and it won't really react with oil paints or acrylics or I don't know about stains, wood stains, if it would do anything. I'm not totally sure. But this stuff here it seems interesting. Like I want to kind of buy some experiment with it and see if it actually does work. Maybe some like flesh tones or something, maybe some browns. So if I make a monster or anything else, I can try it out. But so this is kind of cool. So evidently, from what I understand about this kind of thing, is that pigments like this have been used for centuries. Some of them are made from minerals. Some of them are from like plants. Some of them are from different like clays that you dig up somewhere. And I don't know if you guys know this, but some of it is from fruit. Like I know that if you go to like Thailand, if you notice like monks wear those yellow robes, they use pigments from, what is it from? Is it avocados or something? Not avocados. God, what is that stuff called? I can't remember the name of it now. But anyways, they take this like fruit and they throw it in a boiling pot of water and throw the fabric in there and it dyes everything yellow. So there's all kinds of ways to paint things and pigment things like that. So Ron says acrylic paint works fine, but it creates tiny air bubbles in the silicone, which become too visible if your character is super smooth. Well, that didn't happen for me, but I used a certain silicone that was, I don't remember the name of it. It's been so long. Something I brought from Berman Industries years ago. Spastic Pug says, I've just realized when your first video was released. The baby dragon versus the pea. You were 6 years old. Okay. Yeah. It's been a while since I made that. That's true. That's probably what, 10 years ago? 10 or 11 years? But anyways, there's actually let me see what this one is. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube. This woman here makes silicone babies, and she had a lot of interesting ideas on how to make and paint these. Using what was that? One of the EcoFlex brand of silicone, which there's different versions of it, and some people make like dismembered fingers, as you can see here. But there's like this whole strange, I shouldn't say strange, but there's this whole community that makes these like rubber babies. And a lot of women make them as a hobby. But this one particular woman has a whole series of videos on how she made this one. And there's 4 parts to it, and they're pretty long. This one here is about 34 minutes. And her webpage, or YouTube channel, I should say, is Caroline Doughty. Doughty. That's the name of it. And she says, I am a sculptor and doll artist at Dreams Reborn. This series of videos will be showing me making baby Tara from a clay sculpt into a silicone baby. Part 1 shows you how to make a silicone glove mold from the clay sculpture. Part 2, she makes a shell mother mold, cuts a seam and removes the clay sculpt. Part 3 shows how you pour a silicone baby using the mold. And Part 4 shows you how I pull the baby from the mold and fix any seams or imperfections for painting. In Part 5 and 6, which I haven't recorded yet, which will follow on later, I will show you how to paint the baby, mat her, then root her using a fine needle and mohair. Which I bought some mohair and I tried to make some eyebrows on a test piece of silicone. I I take that back. It's yak hair. Yak hair is too thick for eyebrows, by the way. Probably too thick for stop motion puppets as well. But one of the things I wanted to point out with this is that the way that she cast this is, I would never even think to do it this way. She's pulling it out of the mold here. But before she pulls it out, maybe I can get a shot of it so you can see. You can see how this mold is made when she takes it apart. And she has the arms sticking out of the mold, which is a case mold made from, I believe that's that lightweight epoxy epoxy resin, which is moldable, which I use for most of my stuff. I think the technical term is free-form air is the technical term. But you see how the arms are sticking out? This is actually silicone. That's the inner mold sticking through. And when she pours the silicone through the top of the head and down into these finer parts of the fingers, she will squeeze the silicone that's protruding where all the details are. So there's like all these little fine, possible places where air can get stuck in there, right? So what she'll do is she'll just, grab it, squeeze it, and release the air, and the silicone goes down into those parts, and she pulls it out, and she has no problem. You can see here, so she kind of, I think at one point she cracks the mold by accident, or one of the parts. I mean, she didn't even do a lot of stuff that most of us would do, like adding little pry points and stuff with clay, so you can stick some screwdrivers in there. She just kind of, it's the ugliest mold in the world, but it worked. So Ron says grinding pastels is good and works, but you need to obsess with grinding because small clumps won't dissolve. That's a good point, Ron. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. So Randy says, are you talking mixing the paint into the silicone or painting it after drying? I mixed the paint into the silicone, and it was acrylics. I used some blue acrylic paint and some translucent silicone. I did it as a test a long time ago. I'm going to sneeze. Hope I don't sneeze. All right. But it actually did work, and there were no air bubbles or anything that I could tell. But yeah, this was really interesting to watch, and the way that she cut the mold and made it and everything, I had never seen before. So yeah, this is like one of those places. This is one of those communities where people make silicone creations, and they share a lot of knowledge on how it's done. And some of the things that I've seen where people have painted these, they use alcohol-based paints, which you paint on with a paintbrush. The other way, I think Ron mentioned you could use silk pig pigments mixed with the silicone and then thinned out with Novox, NoVOCs, which I guess is a less toxic way to paint, and then airbrush it. And so that's something that I might do as well. I'm going to most likely buy most of that stuff and see if I can pull it off. I'm a little hesitant to make like use my airbrush and spray stuff because it's very permanent when it sets up. And if you mess up, you can't remove it. So for my first one, I'm making a silicone bust of Ava Green because I've already sculpted it for a client, and I'm going to 3D print it, mold it, and cast it in silicone, and then try to paint it. So it would be cool if this woman, I'm not sure if she released part 5 of how she paints them, but her tutorials are really thorough, and I'm really interested to know how she ends up painting it, because she just, like, at the end just shows how it's done. So she's handling the baby, and then all of a sudden, it's painted, and she has, like, hair and everything. I don't know if this is like a wig, like if you can buy these someplace. I mean, maybe there's a whole community of wig makers for babies or something. But she has wigs, and I mean, this is almost like a very large stop motion puppet, right? So Ron says the bubbles caused by the acrylic are really tiny, so I never even noticed them until I needed to cast a very smooth character. Ah. Does it really, Ron? That was what I was wondering too. Like, when you spray it through, will it come out of there or not? I've got two kind of airbrushes. I've got a double action one, and I've got a Binks from a long time ago, and I just recently got a new hose for it for $7 on Amazon from a Pache airbrush company. Because if you try to get a Binks airbrush hose from the Binks website, they want like $50 for it, which is insane for an airbrush hose. So it will actually peel out of there easily, huh? Yeah, it's gonna take some experimenting for me, and I don't feel really secure about it because I've never done it, and I'm afraid to screw everything up, and silicone is expensive. Anyway, it's pretty neat. I guess women like this kind of baby stuff and collecting dolls and all that. So, and they have all this knowledge. So this here is painting it. So I might watch some of these later. But EcoFlex 0030 is supposedly really good. I'm not sure if it's good for stop motion puppets. Some of the dolls that these women are making out of it seems very super flexible. So I would think that it would work great for puppets. There's even some of these videos where they compare different versions of silicone to one another, so you can sort of see what they look like and what these doll creators think of them. So there's like a 20, there's a 30. I don't really know how many EcoFlex versions. There's a 35, I guess, here. And I think that these are all shore hardnesses, maybe. So the 30 is probably softest. Or 20? Wait a minute. There's actually 20. Okay. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But it's very interesting to learn. So Ron says, you tint the color of your puppet when casting and thin the silicone for painting really thin. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to get that flocking powder, so you get like the red, blue, yellow, and I've seen, and I'm not really sure why, I guess maybe there's like a green as well. So you can mix those all together, mix that into your silicone, then you tint the silicone the lightest shade of whatever. So if you're making it flesh, you go with the light color flesh, or if you're making like a blue alien or something, you go with the lightest version of blue, and then you airbrush, darker, coats over that. That's how I understand it. So that's it seems straightforward, but I will find out. And if I make a mess, I'll post it too. I'm gonna post it on my Facebook page. But anyways, guys, it's fun talking, and I hope that you all can, maybe get something out of our show. Hopefully it helps you to maybe, get inspired. Maybe you learned something about silicone tonight. Maybe, watching others create stuff will just, make you want to make a feature film yourself or something, or just make a stop motion puppet because it's fun. And that's the whole thing, it is fun to do. So with that said, that does conclude our show. And Spastic Pug says, love watching the delicate works to make smooth characters, which friends wouldn't expect this of me when my characters are essentially the cross of Ratfink and W.C. Fields on a bad Monday. That's funny. Well, thanks, Ron. Yeah, it is a bit intimidating, but I am going to do it. I'm not gonna wimp out on it. But anyways, guys, so it is fun to talk, and so next week, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to have a Bad Apples episode or not. First, I'm going to try to resolve that problem I mentioned about Photoshop. So anyways, Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I will catch you all next week.